Her child asked, "Why don't we have a dad? Mommy, why don't we have a dad like Zoe does?" The question hung in the air between us as I froze, my daughter's innocent eyes looking up at me, waiting for an answer I wasn't prepared to give. How do you explain absence to a 5-year-old? If you've ever faced that impossible question from your child, you know exactly how my heart shattered in that moment. Like and subscribe if you've been there. Sometimes sharing these journeys makes the path a little less lonely. I'm Sarah, and this is our story. I remember the day Lily was born, October 17th, the most beautiful autumn day. The leaves outside the hospital window were brilliant oranges and reds, nature's celebration of her arrival. I held her tiny body against mine, overwhelmed by love and terror in equal measure. Her father had walked out 3 months earlier when the pregnancy became too real for him. "You'll be back," he'd said, so certain I couldn't do this alone. Those first months were a blur of sleepless nights and endless doubts. I'd rock Lily at 3 a.m., tears streaming down my face, wondering if I was enough. My mother helped when she could, but she lived 2 states away and had her own life. My friends tried, but their lives continued while mine had transformed completely. I returned to work when Lily was 12 weeks old, dropping her at daycare with a piece of my heart each morning. The daycare workers became my village, Ms. Patty with her warm hugs and Ms. Jen who always saved Lily's artwork. They never asked about Lily's father, and I was grateful for that mercy. We found our rhythm eventually. Weekday mornings were a chaotic dance of breakfast, getting dressed, and making it out the door on time. Evenings were our sacred time, dinner together, bath time with too many bubbles, and bedtime stories where I did all the silly voices. Weekends were for adventures, the park, the library, baking cookies that sometimes turned out right. I thought we were doing okay, just the 2 of us. Until that Tuesday afternoon when Lily came home from kindergarten with that question. "Why don't we have a dad like Zoe does?" I sat her down on our worn couch, the one I'd bought second-hand when we moved into our apartment. How do you explain complex adult decisions to a child who still believes in magic? Families come in all different shapes, I started, my voice steadier than I felt. Some have a mom and a dad. Some have 2 moms or 2 dads. Some have grandparents who take care of children. And some, like us, have just a mom. Her little brow furrowed. "But why? Didn't you want a dad for me?" The question pierced me. Of course I wanted her to have everything, every advantage, every love, every opportunity. But life doesn't always follow our plans. "Your dad wasn't ready to be a father," I said carefully. "Being a parent is a very big job, and some people aren't ready for it. Is he ever coming back?" Her voice was so small. "I don't think so, sweetheart. But that doesn't mean he didn't love you. And it definitely doesn't mean you're missing anything. You have so many people who love you, me most of all, plus grandma, and your aunts and uncles, and all your friends." She seemed to accept this, but I knew it wouldn't be the last time we had this conversation. That night, after she fell asleep, I cried into my pillow, wondering if I'd said the right things, given her enough. The questions continued as she grew. Each school father-daughter dance brought fresh pain. Each Father's Day craft at school was a reminder of our difference. I tried to compensate, attending every event, being both parents, exhausting myself in the process. When Lily was 7, I met Daniel through a friend. He was kind, patient, and understood my priorities. Our relationship developed slowly, with careful boundaries. I didn't introduce him to Lily until I was certain he wasn't temporary. Their first meeting was at the park, neutral territory. Daniel brought a kite, and they spent hours getting it airborne, laughing when it crashed, patiently trying again. Watching them, I felt hope flutter in my chest for the first time in years. But blending lives isn't simple. Lily tested boundaries, had tantrums, asked Daniel if he was going to leave too. He weathered it all with steady patience. "She's protecting herself," he told me one night after a particularly difficult evening. And you? I understand. When Daniel proposed a year later, Lily had mixed reactions: excitement about the wedding, fear about changes, confusion about what to call him. You already have a dad, Daniel told her gently. I'm not trying to replace him. I'm just hoping to be another person in your life who loves you very much. You can call me Daniel, or whatever feels right to you. The wedding was small, just family and close friends in my sister's backyard. Lily was my maid of honor, wearing a dress she helped choose, beaming as she handed me the rings. But that night, I found her crying in her room. What if he changes his mind about us, she whispered when I gathered her in my arms. Oh, sweetheart. Daniel chose us, both of us. He knows what an amazing package deal we are. Adjusting to life as a family of 3 had its challenges. Daniel had never been a parent before, and sometimes he and I disagreed about boundaries or discipline. Lily tested him, watching to see if he'd stay when things got difficult. But slowly, day by day, we found our way. When Lily was 10, she came home from school quiet and withdrawn. After dinner, she handed me a form. Her class was having a father-daughter science project. I don't know what to do, she said, her voice small. Before I could respond, Daniel sat beside her. I'd be honored to help with your project, if you'd like. But only if you want me to. She studied him for a long moment. Okay, she said finally. But I want to do a really good one. Not just something easy. They spent weeks working on a complex ecosystem in a terrarium, heads bent together over research, arguing good-naturedly about variables and controls. When they brought home a blue ribbon, the pride on both their faces was something I'll never forget. That night, as I tucked Lily into bed, she asked, "Is it okay if sometimes I wish Daniel was my real dad?" My heart caught. Oh, honey. Daniel is your real dad in all the ways that matter most. He chooses to love you and take care of you every day. That's what makes someone a real parent. When Lily was 13, she received a letter. Her biological father had found us through social media. He wanted to meet her, to explain, to be part of her life now that he was ready. I was terrified. What if he disappointed her again? What if he made promises he wouldn't keep? What if she preferred him to the life we'd built? Daniel held me as I voiced these fears. This has to be Lily's choice, he said. We've raised her to be strong and thoughtful. Trust that. I showed Lily the letter, making it clear that whatever she decided would be supported. She read it silently, her face unreadable. Can I think about it? She asked finally. Take all the time you need, I assured her. For weeks, she said nothing about the letter. Then one evening, as we prepared dinner together, a family tradition, she spoke. I don't want to meet him, she said, chopping vegetables with careful precision. Maybe someday, but not now. I have everything I need right here. Relief and pride washed through me. Not because she'd chosen us, but because she'd made her own decision with such clarity and confidence. The teenage years brought new challenges, arguments about curfews and clothing, friend dramas, her first heartbreak. Through it all, our unconventional family held strong. Daniel never tried to replace her biological father, but he was there, coaching her soccer team, helping with math homework, teaching her to drive with more patience than I could muster. When college acceptance letters arrived, we celebrated together. The night before she left for university, I found her in her room, surrounded by half-packed boxes. I'm scared, she admitted. What if I'm not ready? I sat beside her on the bed that had seen so many bedtime stories, so many tears, so many dreams. You are the strongest, most resilient person I know. You've been ready for this your whole life. She leaned her head on my shoulder, suddenly my little girl again. I've been thinking about something. About families. What about them? Remember when I asked why we didn't have a dad? I was so worried about what we were missing. But now I see we weren't missing anything at all. We had everything we needed. Tears filled my eyes. We did, didn't we? And then we got even more when Daniel came. But it wasn't because we needed a dad. It was because he was Daniel, and he fit with us. I hugged her tight, marveling at her wisdom. When did you get so smart? She laughed. I had good teachers. The day we dropped her at college was bittersweet. Her dorm room was tiny, her roommate seemed nice, and her excitement was palpable beneath the nervousness. As we prepared to leave, she hugged Daniel first, whispering something in his ear that made him blink back tears. Then she turned to me. "Thank you," she said simply. "For everything. For being enough, even when you thought you weren't." Driving home, the car emptier without her energy filling it, Daniel reached for my hand. "She's going to be amazing," he said. "She already is," I replied. That night, looking through old photos, Lily as a baby in my arms, as a toddler taking her first steps, as a child in her soccer uniform, as a teenager at prom, I realized how far we'd come from that day when her innocent question had broken my heart. Why don't we have a dad? The answer, I now understood, wasn't about what we lacked. It was about what we had: love enough to overcome absence, strength enough to forge our own path, courage enough to accept help when it was offered with love. Families aren't defined by who's missing, but by who chooses to stay, to love, to show up day after day. Sometimes the most beautiful families are the ones we build ourselves, piece by precious piece. If you're raising a child alone, if you're answering those difficult questions, if you're wondering if you're enough, you are. Your family isn't missing anything essential. Love is what makes a family, and love takes many forms. And if you're a child who grew up with questions about an absent parent, your story isn't defined by who wasn't there, but by who was, and by who you choose to become. Our stories continue to unfold. Lily is studying psychology now, wanting to help other children navigate complex family dynamics. Daniel and I are adjusting to our empty nest, rediscovering each other in the quiet spaces. And our family, unconventional, imperfect, but so full of love, continues to grow and change. The question that once seemed so impossible to answer now seems beside the point. We don't have a traditional family. We have something uniquely ours, built with intention, strengthened through challenges, and held together by choice rather than obligation. And that, I've come to believe, is the most beautiful kind of family there is. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe. Share your own family journey in the comments below. Remember, there's no single right way to be a family, only the way that works with love at its center.